and welcome. We're here today talking about Canine Lullabies, music that can calm your dog. And I am here with Mr. Terry Woodford. He's a therapeutic music expert and has years and years of history in the music industry in a variety of ways and has a fascinating story to share. So Terry, would you mind just taking a few moments and sharing with us a little bit specifically today about how you actually recorded these lullabies? Maybe you could just briefly tell us what they are and then how you went about recording them and yeah.
Well, when I was asked by a daycare provider to come up with some music for kids, just as a freebie project, I thought, well, that's a make me feel good project. I need one of those. The music industry's tough, and dog eat dog, and very competitive. And nobody's really very competitive with lullabies, so, and not only that, but, professional record producers wouldn't produce lullabies. That's just not something you do. You don't get to play on the radio.
A humanitarian thing,
so
do something good for somebody.
But I decided, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to treat it like it's a hit record. And so I took the lullabies, like Rock-A-Bye Baby and Mary Had a Little Lamb and Hush Little Baby, and songs that have been around for 300-400 years, that calming babies. And it doesn't matter who the singers are in that case, because Mama doesn't have to sing good, because they recognize that compassion and the tenderness of Mother's voice, or Dad's voice, or Grandma's, whatever.
Oh,
so,
right.
But I was going to use real studio singers, people that are really good, and so I took these lullabies and put them into what's called a singles format, where you have verse, chorus, and, like a hit record has, and usually the same length. And of course, I knew they weren't going to be up-tempo songs, not if you're trying to calm kids in a daycare center. And then I decided, well, I'm going to use the human heart as the rhythm. Well, that really gave me some problems, because first of all, it's very difficult to record the human heart from the chest. There's all kinds of other noises going on in your body.
Lots of gurgling, and pops,
and stomach growls,
and
breathing. And so the person's got to not breathe, while you're trying to record the heartbeat.
Sure.
And could you get a microphone sensitive enough to pick up that heartbeat? And so I used a hot knot, is what they called them, that they put in the inside of acoustic guitars and taped it to the person. And the other thing is that really, I don't know why I didn't think of it. The heart doesn't beat in tempo, and it's got to be in tempo if I'm going to use it as the drums of my lullabies. So I spent a few hundred hours just to get the heartbeat in tempo. You had to record it one beat at a time and space it, and record it and space it, record it and space it. And so, and each song was going to be a different tempo. And I only was going to do about 4 or 5 songs initially anyway. So then the singers, that was another problem. I want them to sing with the emotion of compassion and tenderness. And usually, even though these are great studio singers, they're not called on to do that.
Yes, they're not used to.
So they would hold little dolls.
You just really tried to get them all
some of them just couldn't do it, but the ones that did, of course, really did a great job.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and I'm a man and a woman to do some of the songs. So then I also found that some songs did not work using the human heartbeat. I was going to use Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. Does not work with the human heartbeat.
Okay.
There's just certain songs that won't work. So once we started overdubbing one instrument at a time, we kept everything very non-dynamic, very straight ahead, the same volume, because I didn't want it to be louder and softer within the music itself. And so it started getting to be fun. It was kind of fun. But the problem was, in a recording studio, you have very sophisticated playback equipment. And when you have 1,000 watts of power in these big, gigantic JBL speakers, the heartbeat would just rattle the whole room. So we got it to where we were playing it on smaller speakers. The other problem I had is the heartbeat is, once you got it recorded, you had to filter it and equalize it so it would reproduce on little tiny speakers. So I went to Radio Shack and they have little speakers at Radio Shack. They're about $2 a piece, and they're about as big around as a silver dollar. So I set those up, and I blew up at least 10, 15 of those Radio Shack speakers trying to get that heartbeat to come through there and reproduce, other than making a little squishy sound, where it didn't sound like a real rounded heartbeat. So, as it went along, I finally got 5 songs and got the singers on there. And the idea at that time, all the singers agreed, ironically enough, to not be identified. Now, it wasn't because they were ashamed of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that we didn't want to bring the attention to the singers. It's not about
That's not what that
making
was.
a star,
Mm-hmm.
out of somebody singing "Rockabye Baby." It was, it was more about let's this whole music is a package that's going to calm kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had 5 songs, which eventually worked its way into the cardiac recovery unit, which is now sold 3.5 million, of which a lot are used to prevent infant abuse, because crying is the primary trigger for infant abuse. Mm-hmm. It's been used in research and circumcision, keeping babies calm during circumcision. It's used in neonatal units, pediatrics, MRI, and of course infant abuse. We've sold over 1.5 million to health departments, Prevent Child Abuse America sites, and the military to calm kids. Crying is the primary trigger for infant abuse. 60% of new parents only get 6 to 6.2 hours sleep a night because of a crying baby waking them in the night. So it's a real problem that not many people talk about. And I think the real problem is Dr. Spock, who kind of messed up my generation by telling parents to let their baby cry. So, that's not an easy thing to do, and not really the right thing to do, because babies cry for a reason. That's the only way primary way to express a want or a need.
Sure, of course.
So then later on, the same music has been found to calm chimpanzees and dogs and cats, although we haven't really publicized the cat part yet.
Really, you can?
Oh yeah, the cats hear even better than dogs. They hear a little bit higher frequencies, and the difference is they're not going to bark and wake up the neighbors or wake you up or scare people or whatever. But when they're frightened, if you're a cat owner, they'll get back in a corner, or they'll go hide, and they'll be shaking all over. And so in some of the kennels, when they were testing them on dogs, they also had cat places. And so we've had a lot of reports that it'll calm the cats that are upset cats. So any animal that's trainable, or any animal that's pretty smart, pigs, cows, will probably respond to the music in the same way, in the human heartbeat and the compassion in the singer's voice. Okay. So it's now been, who would have ever thought,
Yeah, from that one question, that one request from that lady.
And it wasn't, it's made me feel good now for 25 years.
That has been very gratifying. Very gratifying. And not only is it very gratifying, but it's very, very effective in calming dogs.